Honorable Chief Guest, respected Senator Sherry Rahman, former Federal Minister for Climate Change, on respected dignitaries. Okay. I request all of you to please take your seats. Respected dignitaries, colleagues, fellows, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. I am Zainab Naeem, and on behalf of Sustainable Development Policy Institute, I extend you all a very warm welcome to the first Sustainability Investment Expo by STPI. This expo serves as a convergence point for diverse stakeholders spanning public and private sectors, development partners, business associations, and other outlets. The overarching aim is to catalyze collaboration in sustainability design, production, and management. We are really glad that the public and private sector are here to showcase their sustainability initiatives and the work they are doing around sustainable development in Pakistan. We'd really appreciate their initiatives, and SDPI is providing a platform to highlight the best initiatives that they are having in Pakistan. Without further ado, for this 2 days expo, today is the inaugural ceremony, and tomorrow there will be a closing ceremony followed by sustainability awards. We'll be recognizing and acknowledging the partners from both public and private sector for the best initiatives. I would now like to request Dr. Abid Qayyum Suleri, Executive Director, SDPI, for his welcome remarks.
Thank you, Zainab. Respected Sherry Rahman Sahiba, distinguished guests, all the collaborators and partners who have helped us and supported us in making this expo possible through showcasing the excellent initiatives that you have been taking for sustainability. I welcome you all on this first edition of Sustainable Development Expo. And the reason for holding this expo was to try to bridge research practice gap. So STPI takes pride in bridging research policy gap, and we feel that we are a pivot bridge between research and policy. But then we realized that unless and until we showcase good practices, this research policy it don't go anywhere, and that's why we requested all of you to be part of this founding expo this year, and hopefully now this would be a permanent feature of our Sustainable Development Conference, that we can not only showcase but highlight good things that are taking place in Pakistan, and we will try to get them replicated as much as possible. And one of the purposes to bring all the good practices, whatever is happening in federating unit, and link them with the policymakers in Islamabad, so that their further dissemination and further application can be possible. I'm extremely grateful to our chief guest today, Ma'am Sherry Rahman, for sparing time. She only landed Islamabad this morning after her hectic journey, but this is her devotion towards sustainable development and to green growth and green development that when we requested her, she accepted our invitation, and she's here today. And everyone knows of her leadership that she displayed in COP27 in getting this loss and damage fund established during COP27 last year. And one is looking forward to her contributions in COP28 and many COPs that would come through. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us, and thank you all for being part of this historic day in STPI's history, where we are holding our first Sustainable Development Expo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suleri, for the welcome remarks. I'd now request our chief guest for the inaugural ceremony, Her Excellency Senator Sherry Rahman, for her keynote address. Please, ma'am.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. And thank you, SDPI, for organizing and convening such an important conference where business and the public sector are together. Well, we hope they're together in bringing sustainability and responsible investment to the front lines of achieving sustainable development goals. My first thought about SDGs are we don't think about them enough. So I really appreciate SCPI doing this and making the clear links to the private sector in ways that are achievable, in ways that are responsible, and most importantly, in ways that are translatable to our daily lives. The issue with climate change and SDGs and big global goals are that they become very remote. And this is a clear example. An expo is one of the most thoughtful ways of showcasing how sustainability or responsible investment can actually be done, how it can also tick the right boxes, but go beyond doing that in terms of bringing sustainable progress to an economy that is 16% of its GDP short of 16.1% of its GDP. And that's the bridging gap for Pakistan in realizing our SDGs. So SDGs, so this is a huge financing gap, 16.1% of our GDP. Now, I understand that that can become so huge that basically what happens is that societies, public and private sectors, start ignoring the scale of the challenge. When it becomes too huge, that is human nature. The World Bank tells us also that Pakistan's to be sustainably developed until 2030, which is what the timeline of the SDGs is also, we need $348 billion. Now, that's a daunting task for economies drowning in debt and climate stress and development stress. That's a very daunting task. So what I think is important now is to go forward and understand internationally that there is a problem in financing either sustainable goals or climate goals. The easiest and most rich in investment right now are, of course, the climate goals with renewable energies and other solar energy and other energy sectors inviting investment. These are big infrastructure, and of course, IT as well, the IT and infrastructure sector. So these are taking some of the SDGs in places where it matters, but the scale is certainly not enough. And so public sectors tend to try to do this in their policy frameworks and try to coordinate their way through what appears to be a tangle of growing challenges with a very large and very fast growing population. The challenges multiply. So climate change is, of course, one of the most, is a ticking bomb for all of us, as is our population. And I keep on mentioning that because it is not really seen as a big public priority. It should be, ladies and gentlemen, because it impacts all our, it impacts our capacity to how we do business in the country and how we are able in the public sector or the private sector to achieve goals. The private sector can do things that the public sector cannot, obviously. It can innovate and it can scale up in ways that the public sector cannot. And it can be agile. Again, something the public sector is everywhere in the world, and particularly in Pakistan. Nimbleness of decision-making and then task execution is a serious challenge. So for the private sector to be involved in SDG opportunities, I think is very important. Now, very quickly, I want to say that the SDGs are not charity, or they're not development aid. They are a unique global call to action, and they present an opportunity for societies, communities, nation states, global communities to bridge crucial development goals and to track them. So the tracking is essential and the framework allows us to track them, but the realities on the ground are what makes them powerful and potent as areas of investment. So if you are, if your company is, I see many companies here, some are struggling with incipient starting up plans, the others are well on their way. The big companies who have made the transformation to be more agile and to bring environmental goals into their, and to bring sustainability into their production pathways, are now well on their way. But those are a few big private companies. Many, including the textile sector in Karachi and Punjab, are now very invested in responsible investment. And that is crucial for some level of circularity also. And I see here great interest in the private sector in circularity, which is extremely encouraging because we are one of the largest waste producing societies in the world. And circularity allows us many co-benefits, which we desperately are in need of. You know, the biogas, the waste to biogas and the waste to energy is just one part of it. There are many others that we can certainly look towards bridging important gaps. Now, globally, the SDGs also represent a market opportunity of $12 trillion. That's not a small opportunity, and over 300 million green jobs. Again, they also represent a growing scale of public and private interest in what I call responsible investment, not the same as CSR or ESG, not at all, but a new path in which you are able to maintain public goods as part of your business goals. These are the public goods that we speak about, a company that will roll out IT investments in areas where there's little access, or a construction company, infrastructure company that rolls out bridges where there is little access, or even a company producing, creating food security jobs or bringing food production, making it sustainable in areas where there is little knowledge of it. And to my mind, the challenge here in Pakistan is, somebody mentioned here in one of the expos, I don't like to do, you know, just tabletop research. To me, it's very important what the ground is saying, and which is why I was traveling early morning to come back from our worker conventions in Mardan and Peshawar, because I am a politician too. And I believe that the public sector and political parties, where we're going next for consultations, is a place where you can have the ownership that is needed, that one of the vendors here mentioned as a challenge. I said, what's the problem in scaling up? People are bringing exciting innovations and projects that are small. This continues to bother me, and in the landscape I survey. There is innovation, there is actual application to the area, to the particular ground they're working with, the community is involved, the community has designed projects. Now, all good, they attract funding, they attract interest. But you have to move beyond the stall that is attracting interest. You have to be a player in the market of social responsibility, in the new business culture in the world of ensuring sometimes you can manage more than one SDG. And, you know, as the world changes, particularly for exports, you will find that you have that filter. You will have to answer to what SDG you have been able to accomplish. Have you made circularity a goal? Have you been able to use renewable energy in your inputs? Have you been able to provide innovative climate resilient food security benchmarks in your area? And have you been able to scale them up in your production lines? They can also actually be, obviously, all investment projects must be providing investment returns. And so there is a great deal of equity that can make its way to sectors that promote sustainability. I mean, there are very many sectors that don't. And they are now being critiqued the world over as old, dirty economy producers. That's not a good label to have. And while, you know, it may be morally a part of our judgment, it is something that these are important labels and they're important markers of the public service that your sustainability goals provide. Now, if you're a private sector a vendor, what you might have is startup interest from, because you're sustainable, you will have startup interest from international investors, perhaps even international NGOs. But after that, it is up to you to scale your project and make it marketable, to adapt it to your local economy, and ensure that its returns are giving you that level of circularity that you are able to both call sustainable and profitable, because businesses have to be profitable. You have to have your returns, and otherwise you will just become a project that has ticked a box, and you know, you bought your cars and you've done your little due diligence and that's it. Have to move beyond the little projects and get noticed by the public sector and perhaps go to a COP or two. It's meaningless to do that. If you can't scale your project up and can't get, and sometimes it's not lack of interest. What I appreciate that SDPI is doing is bringing all these subjects to the fore, and the ownership. One of the ways ownership can go forward from the public sector is the connection of dots. Coordination is not a big thing, but it is considered a huge challenge in Pakistan. It's considered a huge challenge in many countries where there's a federal structure. And you have to actively bridge gaps. You have to actively pursue and follow through where permissions and scaling up are being held back. So roadblocks exist in every economy. It is our job to create pathways. Now, one of the pathways I can, as I leave, I know we have to go to another consultation, is where we can intervene in a public-private forum for sustainable investments. I mean, an equities forum, there is a global equities forum for circularity, for instance. A Pakistan public-private forum for sustainable investments can be created. I mean, SDPI, this is a task cut out for you. You have excellent convening abilities. We can all assist, and we can all put together, you know, a few minds with resources from the public and private sector. Don't wait for the public sector to do this. Do not wait for the public sector to do this. It is under constant challenge in Pakistan. So let the private sector and NGOs such as this, or not NGOs, but think tanks and NGOs do this together, create the structure, create the platform, and that is where then you involve the public sector and say, look, we want to involve you. You're the regulator, and we want to create new frameworks for platform investment. Or involve them from day one. If you don't want suspicion, which is very endemic in our public sector, that what are they doing? What are they trying to do? No, involve them from day one. And I mean, NDRMF can do this with more agility than, you know, direct public sector, but certainly this can be done. And if it is launched, it can become a lead indicator for the provinces, for districts, for others to be incentivized. So you don't become a regulator, you become an incentive creator for SDG investments. There are many names to such projects. Countries have done this, but you can do it in circularity, as a global Pakistan circularity, equity exchange, or you can set up a public-private. Now, public-private partnerships is one model that has succeeded in many of our areas, particularly Sindh, where public money and private expertise comes together. Sometimes it's management, sometimes it's investment, sometimes it's innovation and governance. Then what you see is centers of excellence, which marry the qualities and resources and capital of both the sectors. There are huge shortages in the public sector, and obviously there are limitations in the private sector. When they're together, they're working together to run entities and platforms. What they do is then they cut out the obstacles for each other. And this is one of the paths forward for SDG relevance in our country, because governance is key as much as investment. Investment will shy away if you don't provide the enabling governance environment for it. And I think there's a way to do it. Pakistan's vulnerability is very high. It's very high, and it's multiplied because of climate stress to many of the indicators. Your food security starts crashing, your water security is extremely impacted by our own habits, over extraction of water, farmer overuse, agriculture overuse, industrial pollution. And so to do that, I mean, for a country that's going to be water scarce by 2025, I don't see anyone panicking. We should panic. I don't mean that level of panic that just creates anxiety and no outcomes, but there should be clarity on a path on how to reverse it, both a policy path as well as a call to action. Now, there are 17 SDGs we can all be worrying about. We've done well on climate change because, well, those are boxes we can tick easily. There are many others related to climate stress that are multiplied by climate stress that we need to. Food and water security are the first. And so companies were investing in these sectors, big investments, small investments, can start looking at pathways to public-private partnership to manage the SDG component of it, to be a responsible investor. You have a high profile, high social profile, but you then also are able to create a longer term sustainable market opportunity for yourself. You create the depth in your companies, you create the green jobs everywhere you go, and you start building a postmodern company. So you're a modern investor, you're not old economy. So new economy requires everyone to be SDG positive. And I think today is a good time to start thinking about it. I really appreciate the companies that have come here with their stalls. I believe they're all pro bono, which tells us that they are invested in taking this forward. Being noticed is not the only purpose they're here for. They want to take this forward. And if we leave from here today with just one good idea that can go into action, I think this whole exercise would have been well worth it. Nothing is not possible if we set our minds to it. It is a question of intentionality and focus. So thank you very much. Thank you, SDP.
Thank you so much, Madam, for such an important message for the public sector and private sector. Collaboration is the key, and indeed we have to be optimistic regarding, though future sounds bleak, but we have to be optimistic. So thank you so much for joining us today, for opening the expo. I would like to request for one photo. And also we have lined up exciting chat sessions today on green jobs, sustainable consumption, production, climate change with our partners, donors, and development partners also. So we'll be showcasing these live sessions on the SMDs here. You'll all be able to view the sessions. You can also join us for training sessions that the Center for Learning and Development at STPI has organized for you at the meeting room. Ms. Sadia Sati is coordinating for the sessions. You can all sign up for different trainings and you can join us there as well. So thank you so much, and please enjoy yourself today, share ideas, exchange good ideas, and let's do something positive for the country. Thank you.